Welcome to the global first for 2018. So we're back on the air. We've had a little bit of a break for Christmas, and we hope everyone had a good break and got some toys and got some nice clear weather and some clear skies to do some imaging. I got a little bit. We're going to share some images from the Flickr group from over the holiday break. It's filled up quite nicely. And we have a nice full room, and I can see the viewer counts going up already. And so I'll just quickly run through some of the guests we have today. We have the Astro Power couple, Cory and Tanja Schmitz. How are you guys?
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Do you have a celebrity Astro couple name, like Kenya or Tori?
I like Tori.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but it's like yours predominant and with just my T.
I suppose. But well,
Okay,
we just
pretty
call
cool.
it, you know, photographing space.
Yes, yes. And we'll talk a little bit more about photographing spaces as we go. We've also got Grant in the room there. How you doing?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's Grant from the Tulkarm Research Observatory, based here in not so sunny Cornwall in the UK. The jet stream's been above us for about the last 6 weeks, Dylan, so telescopes have been parked.
Oh, well, we appreciate your patronage anyway, Grant, and thanks for joining us. We also have Paul lurking in the room, but he's also got bad weather and no mic and cam tonight, so he's just going to be in the background on chat. And we also have Trevor from Queensland. How you doing, Trev?
Good, mate. Good. Can't bring you anything else, mate. It's I probably got your weather as well. It's nice and nice and cloudy and rainy.
Yeah, we do what we can through the sucker holes. And we also have Andrew, who is from Adelaide and brought us a little sneak preview of a live, fresh off the sensor view. How you going, Andrew? Well, yeah, I can't get any audio from you, Andrew. I can't hear anything. You're not muted, so it might be that your mic's not plugged in. But we can come back to you if it's not happening. Because I know you're imaging, so that's fine. I know what it's like when you're trying to image and you're on the show as well. So we will come back to you. Oh, there he is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. I can hear you now. You're a little bit low, but I can hear you.
Okay, no worries.
How's things in Adelaide?
It's all clear at the moment in Adelaide, which is good. It's supposed to be clear all week. That's good. I am shooting Ida Carina at the moment, but I had a computer glitch, so I've got to wait for it to load back up again.
Okay. Just give me a hoy when it does load up, and we might have our first live view for 2016. And if the preview I saw before the show went live is anything to go by, it was a pretty nice one too. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is jump straight over to, we might have a special guest coming in a moment. He's just doing a radio show in Queensland, which has just wrapped up, and hopefully he joins us. That's Stephen Ramsden, but we just have to see if he can jump in. So I'm going to go straight to Cory and Tanja, who are going to tell us about what they've been busy with lately.
Hello. We've been really busy making a new resource, working with astrophotographers around the world, called photographingspace.com. It's something that we've been kicking around for a few years now, basically since I moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do something, write resources and
create a community, like a resource guide, something where astrophotographers of all levels can go, because we get a lot of starter questions. People who want to get into astrophotography, people who love doing wide field, and essentially, I mean, there's a lot of people moving from wide field into deep sky stuff, and obviously there's no, I think, central resource for everyone right now, and yeah, so we wanted to create that.
Yeah, so one of the things we decided to do with this project was we teamed up with as many people as we could that either we already knew, had worked with before, or knew that produced really quality work. And we've got a team of 10 people? 10 or 11? Yeah, 10 or 11 people, including ourselves, on board as featured authors for the website. And so we've got all kinds of tutorials and blog posts and a couple of feature stories called Behind the Image, which is basically, it's like, think Astro Bin but with a story. So we find photos, like the most recent Behind the Image was a photo by Paul Swift, a Monoceros mosaic that was 100 hours of imaging time, and a 10-panel mosaic in narrowband. I mean, just beautiful. And I think a lot of people, they see these photos and they're like, wow, I want to shoot that, and they don't really realize that one photo took him just over 2 months just to capture, and he had to be lucky with weather.
Yeah, and it's not just so much about the processing and the workflow. It is about their lifestyles and how do you actually manage to capture this, or how do you plan for it? And I mean, we've got one of Dylan's on.
Yeah, we've got your the other series called How I Got an APOD, because people are like, oh, I want to get an APOD. That's a big thing. Yeah, I want to get an APOD, and so the whole reason we started this website was try and figure out the easiest way to get an APOD.
Yeah, launch a site.
It wasn't. But we've got this series.
You have you were just saying that you're trying to build a community around the tutorial stuff, and I agree that because there are a bunch of communities that are already out there, like Ice and Space and Cloudy Nights, and they've sort of got the community thing covered, but they don't have the tutorial and the knowledge base thing covered, which I think you guys have started off doing really quite well. I'm just going to jump back to you guys in a second, but I think Andrew's got a live view for us here. So I'm just going to shoot over to Andrew, who is in Backyard EOS, so shooting with his DSLR. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at, Andrew.
This is Ada Carina, visible from, sorry?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, Eta Carina is actually the star, or it's a star system in that sort of bulbous area. The whole region is called the Carina Nebula, or the Great Carina Nebula. The only other thing that's called Great is the Orion, but Orion is really at this field of view would only be 25% of the screen. The Great Carina Nebula is massive, and it's something that us in the southern hemisphere really enjoy because it is so bright. You can see here, even with a one-shot color RGB DSLR, 120 seconds, only 2 minutes of exposure, and you just get a massive amount of detail in the inner core area and right out to the outer fringes. I'm going to let Cory wax lyrical about this one, because I know, Cory, that you are also in the southern hemisphere, in South Africa, so you're familiar with this as well.
Yeah, no, this is a beautiful object. I think this was one of the first things that when I moved here I photographed. It was either this or Omega Centauri. I don't remember.
I think you maybe did both at the same time.
Yeah, maybe both at the same time. I was so excited because just doing astrophotography in both hemispheres, I've been lucky to be able to do. And so I moved here, and immediately, obviously, it was the Carina Nebula, Omega Centauri, and just the Milky Way core overhead. You know, all of these. There's so many targets. The Tarantula Nebula, but this Carina Nebula, this was one of the ones that obviously captures my eye. I believe I shot this at 600 millimeters focal length, and then also at 200 millimeters, just with a standard camera lens. Just to capture everything around it, because there's so much rich stuff in that, and it's something I want to go back and do again, because it was just like one of those quick things, you know, like, ooh, we're here, I want to image, you know, all these things that I haven't been able to before.
But then you also went on and we did a narrowband one together.
Yeah, we combined our data at one point and did some narrowband. I took some hydrogen alpha that she shot and combined it with some RGB data as well. But this is beautiful. I'm surprised how much color is actually coming through. And the color balance is perfect.
Is it a modified camera?
This is an unmodified camera.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of red. That's really nice.
What camera is it, Andrew?
This is a Canon 1100D.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we can recommend that camera as a pretty decent astro DSLR.
Yeah, that's a pretty budget-savvy camera.
Yeah, it only cost probably less now, but yeah, it's reasonably cheap.
Nice one. Well, I know what it's like when you're doing imaging and you're on the Global Star Party and people want to see other stuff, but you just want to keep imaging the same target and get all your data. So I'm going to let you collect data there, and I'm going to move on to back onto Cory and Tanja to just talk a little bit more about photographing space. I have written an article there for about how I captured the ISS transit and how I processed the ISS transit for the moon colors and the lunar surface detail. But probably the better and more long-lasting article will be the one that I put together about PhD2 drift alignment. Which is a question that, we get asked this all the time, right, about alignment, and it's constant. Even in some groups that I'm in now, I've even referred them to the article, and they're still coming back with questions about, you know, how it works. And it's
maybe we should rework it to make a concise, downloadable version of it, or something.
Yeah, it is quite long, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that. It's not that hard. Like, you get out there and it takes you 20 minutes and you just go that star, and you get it done.
The beauty of that procedure too, our last imaging trip that we did, we shot everything very wide field. I think the most narrow field we did was 70 millimeters because we were capturing really large portions of the sky. We only had three nights to image. We took a trip to the desert, and the beauty of that is we brought a mount and our DSLRs and lenses, no telescope, and a guide cam and a guide scope, and that's all we had. And we mounted that onto a Celestron Advanced VX, and we just like really roughly pointed it south, used the latitude on the mount, and then used PhD drift align. And that's all we did. We didn't do any star alignment. We didn't do anything. Just PhD drift align. And we didn't even really need to guide at the end of it, except for the fact that we were shooting 10 minutes with the CCD, so guiding was helpful. But it nailed it without even using a telescope to do any sort of star alignment.
And I think it's a southern sky issue. We don't have Polaris, so we don't have that luxury of just going pointing to the whole stuff.
Oh, trust me. When Cory first moved here, it was pretty funny trying, him to focus or figure out where to go.
Let's see. I think I did the same thing that you did when she came to the northern hemisphere to image for the first time. I remember her looking to the south and saying, "Okay, where do I point the mount?" And I was like, "It's the other direction." And then, but I did the same thing, because I looked north, and I was just like, "Is that? Oh yeah, dude." Once you swap hemispheres, for some reason, like your brain it takes some time to realize, which direction things are moving, and they're backwards, and the toilet water goes the wrong direction.
So, what's the next step for photographing space? I know our audience would probably appreciate the fact that you guys have an Image of the Week competition.
We do, yeah, which has been really cool. Our big problem with the Image of the Week competition was we've got some really good entries, and so like it's one a week, but we're gonna run out of weeks. We're gonna have too many images, so we might have to have like some sort of runner-up or honorable mention gallery or something. But the cool thing about that Image of the Week, I'm glad you brought that up, is on Monday we're going to be announcing something really cool about Image of the Week. I'm not going to hint at it much, but it's going to include some amazing prizes for an expanded version of this competition. Prizes. Cash, not cash prizes, but prizes worth a lot of cash.
But you can get great astro.
Yeah. So we're expanding it to an Image of the Year contest. So every week we're going to pick from all the submitted entries at the photographingspace.com team. That's so everybody. We're going to pick what we think represents what we're trying to do, which we'll talk about later as one of them was pulled. But we're going to pick one in the week, and when you're picked for the week, you're going to be automatically entered into the Image of the Year competition. Awesome. And at the end of the year, what's going to happen is the team, as the photographingspace.com team, is going to pick the top 12 entries and then open that up to a public vote. A public online vote where the entire astrophotography community will choose the Image of the Year, which will be it's going to be a pretty big prize. We're going to do our best to market it and do everything we can for that. So it's moving really fast, and right now the two of us are doing all the administration for everything, and then we've got our featured authors like you, Dylan, and everyone else, Paul Stewart, on the team. Paul's done a couple of really good tutorials on solar astrophotography, which is the whole reason we brought him on board. We tried to cover, speaking of all our featured authors, we tried to cover all the major disciplines.
Yeah, so that there's a bit of everything. We've got solar, we've got deep sky stuff, we've got wide field.
We've got planetary. We're trying to cover it all, and I consider myself like a jack of all trades, master of none. So like, we tried to pick people. We want to make sure the people that we're partnering with are better than us, because we know everyone has something to learn, no matter how much they know, no matter how much they do. Everybody needs to learn.
Because I've only been doing this for a little while, but as soon as I started, I just realized how broad the hobby is. Like, you can specialize in these little niches, and people spend their whole lives just doing planetary or just doing deep space. Right. And I'm not at that point yet where I'm going to just throw all my money into one aspect, because it's so exciting and I just love it all. But I think in the long term, nebulas are it for me. But everyone has their niche.
I think nebulas, that's it for me too.
Yeah, I can't decide. See, I love planetary, but it takes a bigger scope and a different scope, and it's different. But then I love the nebulas.
You just want all the toys.
I just want all the toys. And then I got into doing wide field time lapse, and so I've done a lot of wide field time lapse with motion control sliders and everything, which is, you could almost not even call that astrophotography if you want to be a purist about it. But the thing is, it is, because of the editing and everything that goes into it. And so that's why we brought Mark G on board, because he's obviously known everywhere about being this amazing wide field astrophotographer. He's got the Astrophotographer of the Year 2013, I believe it was, and he won both categories of that, which was first for the competition there. And so, like, I think our team is really solid and cool. And another thing we're doing that a lot of people might not know about is there is a link on the site that you can become a contributor. So if someone has a good idea, and we've already had at least...
Yep. Is that my internet, or is that Cory and Tanja's?
Cory and Tanja, I think.
Yeah. So Cory and Tanja have an internet technician at their house who just arrived like 5 minutes before we went live. And I think he just restarted the internet on them, which is a shame. We are waiting for Stephen Ramsden to join us, hopefully. How are you going there, Andrew? Still imaging Etta Carina? I imagine he is.
Yeah, still imaging. I've got something quickly to share before my computer completely dies on me.
Yeah, sure.
This was taken last night, I think, like early this morning.
Cool.
Yeah, by Graham Kalea. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. And what it was the Atlas V rocket was launched in America, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a GPS satellite on it, which it deployed, and Graham was able to capture the fuel being jettisoned from the thing. Yeah, so
awesome.
Just have a look. Hopefully you can see it.
All right, you can see that.
Oh, it's a bit jittery for me. I think it's frozen. No, I couldn't quite get the frame rate here, Andrew. Did you guys see any movement at all, or is it just sort of pausing? Bugger.
Yeah, it was moving at the beginning. I can see the capture in the way. But now it's totally...
It might be your Wi-Fi from the garage there, Andrew.
Sorry about that. Our computer crashed here.
Oh, no worries, guys. We're just looking at this. Apparently, someone captured the Atlas V actually breaking up into stages from a ground-based telescope, which is pretty amazing.
Okay.
The
Vimeo link is in the chat area.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for that, Andrew. I'm going to switch quickly to Stephen Ramsden, who has just joined us. Welcome, Stephen.
Hey, Dylan. How you guys doing, man? Hello from freezing cold 7 a.m. Atlanta, Georgia, in my garage of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. Thanks for the invitation.
Looking cool. And I know you've just come from a radio station interview just 2 hours north of me in Queensland as well.
Yes, we have a chapter of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project in Home Hill, which is in a region called the Burdekin, that even most Australians have never heard of. And it's very remote, and Rob Black up there does a radio show on public radio in the Burdekin. So I just got done with the interview there on pseudoscience quackery, and I do appreciate the invite, and I love what you do. I've seen the broadcast before a couple times, and you do a great job, my friend.
Cheers. Well, speaking of pseudoscience and quackery, let's just get straight into it. In the last little while,
I'm an expert.
There has been an absolute storm in our community, and we don't get a lot of controversy in the astrophotography community. It's pretty mild-mannered, and we just like taking pretty pictures. But there was an APOD just recently of the ISS speeding past Saturn. Now, this happens, and it is something that can be captured, but it got APOD, and a couple of us were fooled. I was certainly fooled. Julian's been on this show before. He has shared with us his Jupiter ISS transit before, and I just gave him the benefit of the doubt. But one member of the community, Stephen Ramsden, had his the hairs on the back of his neck stand up when he saw this image. And I'm just going to share out the image so that we all know what we're talking about. It took me a little while to find it, actually, because it's been removed from APOD, and it's been removed from Julian's website as well. Actually, I don't think I just can't find it. Oh, hang on, I can.
I've got it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Should be able to share it.
Yeah, I've got it, unfortunately, because we picked it for an image of the week and then retracted it.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry I caused such a mess.
No, sorry at all. I mean, it's good. Like, I was fooled. On photographingspace.com, we saw this image and we're like, awesome, I want him to write an article about how he got it, because I read his website and I was like, this looks legit. Like, it seems like if you do all of those things, and he had gone through the list of everything you need to do in order to capture the transit.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's legit, right? Oh, there you go. And I got fooled, and I emailed him and said, like, listen, dude, like, what I would do if I were you is if you've got the raw video, release that raw video, because that's all you have to. That's all you've got to do.
Yeah.
If you don't, just own up to it. And the thing is, you don't really have to. You don't have to succeed every time you image. I mean, all of us, we know we mess up all the time, and everything has to be perfect, and we don't have to get it right. So it's okay to fail in this hobby. So
Stephen, tell me what went through your mind when you first saw this image.
I thought it was beautiful, and I should probably give you a little backstory, and I won't take up your whole show, but I run a student charity. I don't even consider myself an astronomer, to be honest with you. I consider myself to be a science advocate in the United States. We are sorely in need of STEM education in the United States. So the program I run takes cool science, it happens to be solar astronomy, to schools 3 or 4 days a week, and I give away glasses, and I get kids excited with drones, and we really rev them up to learn some science, and I show them cool solar flares and let them take videos and pictures through the camera. That's what I do. I am not a fan of, this may not go over well, just warning you, I'm not a big fan of people profiteering from the hobby or claiming, you know, this is my image, yada yada. Yes, you know, these things are in the sky for everyone to see, and the benefit of showing someone or yourself something through a telescope immeasurably outweighs the immediate gratification you may get from recognition or getting in a magazine or whatever. That's my thing. I don't judge anyone else for what they do. That's my thing. The pleasure of sharing it is billions of times more valuable to me than whether I get published in Astronomy magazine or whether I get an APOD or whatever. APOD is ran by 2 professors on their spare time. Very nice gentlemen. I've met them both at various astronomy shows where I've lectured. The way it works is you have to submit your image to them, and they may pick it to be the APOD. I have never personally submitted an image to them because I'm not that great of an imager, to be honest with you. The whole system is set up for you to possibly get recognition for something you've done in the astro world, which is great. That's not of interest to me. When I saw the APOD, it wasn't because I went to look at the APOD, it was because 2 other astronomers here in Atlanta, planetary imagers, sent me an email saying, check out this fake, man. And I checked it out, and I've imaged I've imaged many ISS transits of the sun. I've imaged thousands of jet transits of the sun. I've used CalSky. In fact, my program sponsors CalSky, which is the place where Julian says he got his information from. I have done this enough to know that that image was absolutely impossible. Okay, there is no way anyone is going to get an image of the ISS completely, perfectly centered on Saturn, period. Number 2, they're vastly different angular diameters in the sky. So this ISS image being exactly the same size as the planet Saturn is impossible. Okay? Number 3, the ISS across the image is exactly the same in every single placement, and it's exactly the same distance from each other except for the 2 on each side of the planet. And I also happen to be an Adobe expert, a Final Cut Pro, and a Photoshop expert, and it was just obvious to me that this was placed. And I don't fault Julian. I don't care what Julian does. I've never met him. I have no interest in ruining Julian or whatever. It got on social media, and it blew up. Okay, I wrote an article concerning this, and cut me off if I'm talking too much. You know, I'm an American, so I'm going to go on forever. It got on the internet because my angle of this story was to show the links at which someone will go to in this hobby to get personal recognition for something. In my opinion, the personal recognition is irrelevant in this hobby. It comes if you go without malice and in a sincere effort to do the hobby. The recognition comes. And I'll give you Damian Peach as an example of that. Damian Peach is, without a doubt, the finest imager on Earth. You know, astronomical amateur imager. Your work, Dylan, is pretty awesome. Damien Peach has never bragged about a thing in his life. He's a friend. He's humble. The recognition came because Damien's images were excellent. This website, when I went to Julian's website to check it out, I noticed a lot of hokey things there. And, you know, the description is really what set me off because, oh, look, I did it again. I happen to have caught this perfect ISS transit, you know, and he shows this image of an under $500 mount, an under $300 telescope, and a $200 camera. This is not high-end equipment, and it is impossible for someone with that equipment to capture this image for many reasons. There's no way to get a full-color, high-resolution image of the ISS in that manner in a raw video. It just doesn't happen. You'd have to have more exposure time. Then he put, I was filming it at 42 frames per second, you know, with this guide camera. You know, the whole thing just reeked of impossibility. But then, as I read on his website, I even got more upset because then, of course, the inevitable, oh, I'm also selling prints of this. I'm also selling this. Look at what I did. I'm fantastic. I got an APOD. Okay, well, I went to look at some of the other photos, and listen, the weirdest thing about this is his other images that weren't fake were excellent. The guy's got some great imaging talent.
He does,
the need to come up with this miraculous, impossible image that no one else could do outweighed the need for him to retain his integrity. And had it not been for that description on APOD saying, look at this miraculous catch, I did it again, you know, look at this, and portraying it as a single raw video that was all captured at the same time when it clearly wasn't, is what set me off to write this article. And the article was about, look at how far people will go for internet recognition. It wasn't about Julian Wessel. In fact, his name wasn't even in the article. It got taken on by some other entities, including Phil Plait, who writes a blog for Slate Magazine. Several other blogs started copying the article and adding their own 2 bits into it. And it turned as sort of a negative thing against Julian. Listen, the guy lied about his image. He got caught. That's it. Who cares? Move on. Do something better.
Yeah, well, I mean, we certainly caused a bit of a flurry of emails with Cory and I, and we quickly had to make a decision as to whether to pull the image or not. And we ultimately did give Julian the benefit of the doubt. We said, show us the proof. Show us that it really happened, and that was not forthcoming.
Because it didn't really happen, Dylan. Yeah. I mean, that's why it wasn't forthcoming, because it didn't happen.
Yep.
Okay.
So Cory did pull it down, and it didn't take long for NASA to pull it down too.
I had a lot of problems deciding what to do, as Dylan was talking about, because I didn't want to jump. And I was talking to Paul Stewart about it, and I said, what do you think? You know, what's the deal with this image? It looks too good to be true, probably is, but I don't want to jump and pull it down and pull the article until I know for sure. You know, I want proof. I want proof for sure. And so I looked at your article, Stephen, and I looked at some of the other stuff on Facebook, just trying to figure out, you know, given what's going on, I want to give it one more day, you know, and wait until we're sure. And then I sent Julian an email and said, you know, hey man, sorry, but we're going to pull the article because and the image from our Image of the Day competition, because we don't want these kind of composites that are you know, obviously faked. And
well, here's what could have made it work. Cory, are you Cory? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And is this Paul Stewart with the Sun? Hey, Tanja. Is that Paul Stewart with the Sun? Paul Stewart, you are a fantastic imager, and it is an honor to talk to you, sir. And thank you for the contributions you've made to our program as well. Your images are absolutely fantastic, and thank you.
Yeah, he doesn't have a mic on, but I know he appreciates that.
Listen, if Julian had said, hey, here's a composite image of the ISS I placed over Saturn to simulate the transit, then nobody would have said a word. It was an arrogance and bragging and look at what I did, come here and buy my print, that set it off. And behind the scenes, in several ways, this person also displayed to me that he was not repentant and he wasn't interested in you know, he apologized here and there, and I don't want to get into Julian's. I don't even know the guy. I don't care. Okay, my whole point was come on, man. We are fortunate enough to be alive and to own this equipment. Share this with the public freely, man. We've got to get ourselves off this planet and onto the moon and Mars immediately. I mean, last week. What in the heck are you thinking of as being published in a magazine as your primary goal? Who cares if you're published in a magazine, man? You don't even need a magazine. The internet spreads your images 1,000,000 times faster than any magazine ever could. I met Dylan because I appreciated his image on the internet. It was beautiful. I said, hey, man, that's beautiful. The next thing you know, we're friends on the internet. Paul Stewart, the same way. Some of the best solar images I've ever seen. I didn't see Paul Stewart's images in a magazine. I saw them on Facebook. Share your image. Put it on Facebook. Who cares if your name's on it or not, man? People are going to know who put it up there. Share it. Now look at Damian Peach's images. Anybody who looks at some of that guy's comet images, their jaw just drops, man. They're so fantastic, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Damian doesn't care if he's in a magazine or not. He happens to be in all the magazines because he's sincerely doing a great job at imaging. So that was what my article was about. Have we become so arrogant that our purpose in sharing and doing this fantastic hobby is to get personal recognition for ourselves? No, man, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to get other people interested in it so we can stop radicalizing our youth and turning our world into garbage. That's the whole magic of the hobby. When someone looks at an eyepiece, their life changes, man. That's how we all got involved in the hobby. Am I right? Everyone here.
I agree with that.
Hey, I was the first telescope I bought for observational purposes, and then I was like, wow, I have to share these images with everyone that I've been friends with on Twitter or whatever, and I was like, wow, I bought the wrong telescope. Oh, well, anyway, I'm going to make it work and put a webcam in there and do the virtual star party back when it started up a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, I got to do this. You know, I was moving this Dobsonian telescope around, tracking the moon with a tiny webcam sensor. I mean, it was hilarious, but it was so much fun just to share, you know. And
that's, I mean, all these people sharing, like all the authors on our website, all the Paul, Dylan, Damian Peach, these people are inspiring other people.
Yeah,
and I think what happened with the ISS transit is, you know, it's like a lot of newcomers look at that and they want to capture something like that, and it's sad that this guy, you know, unfortunately faked it, and it doesn't speak well for our, you know, whole photography audience. But like there's still all the other people still produce inspiring stuff, and this is going to happen. This is like what 2-3 years down the line, someone else is going to do it. But it's up to the rest of us to just keep on producing nice things to inspire.
Well, and how many other photos are shared on all the social networking platforms? You know, like check out the Milky Way behind this mountain, and then she sits in bed and she's looking through Twitter and she's like, baby, look at this. There's no way. Like, this was in Austria. It's got the Milky Way core at the hot. I'm like,
in winter.
No.
Well, now, if these pictures are identified, if they're identified as composites, and they say, "Look at this beautiful artistic
then
work,"
it's okay.
That's great.
Okay.
But I will always, if I think it's a fake, I would always give somebody the opportunity. Like, how did you do this composite? Because I've got problems with somebody, especially in wide field, producing something that's not real. Other people want to go out, they want to capture this, and it's impossible.
I want to tell one quick story too, just on that whole knowing if something is fake or not. And this is partly on a fake, but partly on image theft, which also happens heavily in this hobby. A lot of us don't care, you know, like using my image for anything for free, that's fine, right? Yeah, no, that's totally cool. You know, if somebody wants a print, you know, sell them a print, that's fine, but give them away too. Share them for free on the internet, they're great. One thing that happened to us is somebody in the northern hemisphere, I won't name names, but you can go to a website to find out, stole a bunch of our images and claimed they were theirs. They actually like changed the watermark and claimed they were theirs, and then accused us of stealing his images, and actually had like photos of my gear in my driveway, and he said, "This is the telescope I used to do this." And I was like, "Actually, it's not at all, and I've got the raw files, and here you go, here they are." And the best part was, he's in the northern hemisphere, and he's like, "Look at this amazing Carina narrowband I did with a DSLR." I was like,
oh,
dude, yeah, you can't possibly see that at all in your sky.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty bad.
You know, it's just one of those things. People will stoop to really low levels, like you said, to get famous.
But it's everywhere, and it's in every industry, in every hobby, and we must just carry on producing good stuff.
In the U.S., U.S., and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, Dylan. I am invited to speak at a bunch of astronomy conventions about solar imaging, and solar imaging is about as hard as tying your shoe. There's absolutely nothing to solar imaging. Paul will tell you, anybody can get out there and take a moderate to above average quality solar image if they have the right equipment. There's nothing to it. So what I've done in my solar, and the first image I ever got notoriety for, got invited to my first event for, was an ISS transit of the sun. Okay, so I know a good bit about these. Terry Legault and I have worked together on them. I know what I'm talking about. This image was so fake, it wasn't even like I couldn't believe anybody even doubted it. But what I speak about at these conventions is how easy solar imaging is, and I reveal that 99% of the images that I publish were taken by 12-year-olds at outreach events. Okay, I mean it's not difficult. So this whole nighttime, what I call sissy astronomy, in jest, it is harder to do. Yeah, you need 30 hours of exposure for this or that. It's difficult to do. Solar imaging is not difficult to do. I've got an image that was picked as a runner-up for Astrophotographer of the Year award last year. It was taken by a 10-year-old girl at a science sci-fi convention. Her name is on the image. It's hanging in the Royal whatever in the UK.
Is that the Calcium K flare?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I was sitting there with her.
The intro for this show now.
Oh, good. That's the longest prominence ever recorded by mankind. Period. Wow. And awesome. Yes, I was with the little girl, and she was using my equipment, but she took the video and the image, and we processed it together. This little girl's life was possibly changed completely by me spending 15 minutes with her watching something cool on the sun. That's worth a whole lot more to me than me getting my name in Astronomy Magazine. This girl may be the first person to step on Mars. And if she says, hey, this old redneck from Atlanta, country boy, help me do this and change my life, you are never going to get more payback than that from any monetary or gain in notoriety or anything else. So when I lecture at these conventions, I go, here's how you do it. They want me to stretch it out to an hour. It takes about 3 minutes to capture a solar image and process it. So I go and I stretch it out as much as I can, and I make it seem as difficult as I can possibly make it seem difficult, but it's just not. So
that's a really good point. And I remember seeing one of your talks and seeing you talk about these very issues about not watermarking your images and just giving them out for free. And it's something I'd already resonated with that because I'd been doing it for 10 years and giving away all my photos, not just out there, but actually physically licensing them public domain. So people can use them without my credit. I don't watermark anything.
Absolutely.
And because of that, it has actually led to opportunities because media outlets see my images, people go searching for free photography, and they find them and they use my images, and that's what the images are for. They're not just going to sit on my hard drive for the rest of my life. They're out there in the wild.
That's exactly right. I'm living proof of that being the case because I'm a retired air traffic controller in Atlanta, and I started this nonprofit and named it in memoriam to a friend of mine who was in the military with me who killed himself. I've never put a name on any image, and yet still within a year this nonprofit had gotten to be the largest volume astronomy outreach program in the world, and it still is. I put nothing into it. I bragged about nothing. I just sincerely gave everything away that I could, gave people telescopes, gave people glasses. That's what you're supposed to do. We all know that. And the notoriety has come from the fact that I haven't worried about who's on it. I have no problem with somebody selling fine prints in a frame. That's great. I mean, that's a viable thing to do. But people who put a 30-point font on their Milky Way image that's just an average image or even a great image, a 30-point font across the center of it and then put it on Facebook, and the only thing you can see is this ridiculous copyright. I'm like, what are you thinking, man? Nobody's going to steal your image from Facebook. Facebook compresses it so much it's not even usable. Get rid of that crap and just share the image. If you want to sell a fine resolution print, that's one thing. But why are you covering the entire image with Johnson Photography, copyright 2000? I mean, come on, man. Just get a grip, dude.
Yeah, and
you know what's funny, Stephen? One time I actually had an image stolen from Flickr, which I'm fine people using my images for stuff. Somebody used it for commercial purposes without asking me, and we came across it physically at a conference, an expo, and I said, that looks a lot like an image I took. That's interesting. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's my image. That's my image. That's interesting. Because no one asked me. And it was a company, and I was like, you know, if they just would have said, can I use your image on our banner to sell this thing, I would have said, yeah, because that's cool, you know, that's great. But
well, you know, people that matter will credit. People that matter and have integrity will credit your name on the image. I publish an APOD every day, and I don't accept submissions from anyone. I go out and find the images myself and publish an APOD, and I put the person's name on it because that's just common decency. I don't care if your name's on it or not. You know, that's a good point you bring up, and I had something good to say about it, but I completely forgot. But
well,
you know,
I would just quickly like to give some credit to the APOD that eventually went up. For the poor civil servants, scientists, and academics who probably didn't get recognition on that day, but NASA gave it to the credits NASA, ESA, CXC, JPL. So I'm sure they won't be losing any sleep over it. But I thought I may as well just share on the show since it didn't go out to anyone because of Julian's transit.
Yeah, well, I hope that Julian continues to image, and Julian has obviously got talent in imaging from his other images. There's just no need to fake it. And like I said on the other show I was just doing about pseudoscience, there's no need to make any of this stuff up because the real thing is a million times better than any fakery you can possibly produce.
Yeah.
So just do the real thing. I would rather see a raw, shaky image from a new astronomer. You know.
Yeah. I think what he's going to do is just slowly destroy his integrity if he keeps doing things like that.
Well,
that's
it's funny because I saw him post an image on Instagram today, and it was the first image he's posted since the ISSgate controversy. And it was just
the Star Trek Enterprise in the image by any chance?
It was just a regular Milky Way image, but I swear to God, in the comments, he's written, in the caption, he's written, "I will produce the raw file for anyone who's interested."
Yeah.
I thought, he's
young. You know, he's a young guy, and he. I think that worldwide internet pressure has probably got a bad effect, and I've had it on myself before because I'm a little bit controversial here, because I make statements at my lectures like, until you put Mother Nature on that image, you know, as a credit, I'm not interested in you two. Okay? Because I mean, unless you're creating artwork from something in the sky, all that stuff was produced by nature, man. Let's put copyright in Mother Nature. Okay, and that didn't go over too well. But I've had a lot of internet pressure on me before, but you can probably tell I'm a little bit gregarious. And since we're not sponsored by the government or anyone else, it's sponsored by grassroots supporters through our website, solarastronomy.org. I couldn't care less what other people had to say about what I'm doing. It's successful.
So, yeah.
It's successful, and anybody who wants to join in and start doing solar outreach with me, I supply them anything I can, and we get it going, man. It changes lives, and that's what this program's all about. So I do apologize for Julian for getting, you know, all this adverse pressure, but the guy brought it on himself, and that's it.
Sure. Well, you know, it's 11:49, and we haven't really attacked the Flickr group or anything. And to be honest, I don't think 10 minutes is going to do it justice for the whole break, because there is some fantastic stuff in the Flickr group, and I do encourage you to just Google Global Star Party Flickr group, and you'll see the kind of stuff that's in there. We might leave it till next week at this stage. We don't have any other live views for tonight unless Andrew's still going on Eta Carina. Do you want to give us another quick view of that Eta Carina, or Great Carina Nebula, Andrew? There it is.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Yeah. I got to tell you before we go, Dylan, about when I visited Australia in 2014, and I'm coming back in June.
Oh, nice.
I was there with Steele Hill, who runs the heliophysics program at NASA Goddard, and Andy Lunt, who owns Lunt Solar Systems. We looked through a 20-inch Dobsonian at a high school and saw Omega Centauri, and these are three guys who you can't shut up most of the time, okay? And when we looked through that eyepiece, every single one of us just got down from that ladder and were speechless at how beautiful Omega Centauri was in that 20-inch Dobsonian. I'd never seen it before. The skies in Australia are unbelievable. I went there with a bunch of equipment and gave it to Rob Black, and I was teaching him how to stack images. No matter what I did, the stacked images look worse than the single frame. The single frame from the camera was so superior to anything I could take from Atlanta that I was blown away completely. And lastly, I had these UV beads that I give away at outreach events for the kids, and they turn purple when they're exposed to UV light. Okay, so I'm there in the middle of June, near winter time. It's cloudy at our first event, and I get these beads out, and I say, okay, I'm talking to some fourth graders or something. Okay, check this out. These are going to slowly turn purple when I open my hand. And I had them out there, and before I got my fingers flat, they were dark purple. Okay, in the U.S., it takes a minute and a half for them to get light purple. But before I had my hand open, they were dark purple. And then I looked at the weather, and the UV index was 15 that day. In the U.S., our scale doesn't even go over 11 in the U.S. If it was a UV index of 10 here, you'd have people screaming and running underground. Okay, but every day in Australia, it was 15 to 20. So
look, I'm not much of an activist, but I have been speaking with local government about the fact that the town I live in is far enough away from capital cities, but still has its own infrastructure, that we really should be considering space tourism and just putting a little bit of consideration into things like streetlights. And why should the streetlights be on after midnight? They serve absolutely no purpose. The council wants to be a carbon neutral council. They would meet that target overnight if they just switched the streetlights off after midnight. So it's a kind of passive activism for me, but I think it's something that astronomers hold close to their heart, definitely.
Yeah, it's truly an amazing opportunity if you get to Australia and look in the skies there. It's just unbelievable compared to what we have in the populated cities in the U.S. It was a great thrill to look at anything, and the calcium K scope that I gave to Rob Black, we could not get the exposure low enough to take an image. We had to have the scope specially modified with a lunar filter added into the chain just to get it low enough so that a 0.01 millisecond exposure would show the sun. That's how bright it is there.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing wrong.
Listen, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you inviting me on a show. I'd love to do it again sometime. I have to go because the wife is calling. And you guys enjoy your show, and thank you for having me on, okay?
Thank you very much, Stephen Ramsden.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We're going to wrap it up. We're getting close to the hour anyway, and I think it's been a really good session. We didn't have much live views, but Andrew did save the day with the beautiful Carina Nebula, which I'm hoping to image a lot more over the next little while before it disappears. I'd like to thank Andrew for his live view, and I'd also like to thank Cory and Tanja for joining us on the show. It's really great to have you guys on.
Cool.
Thank you for inviting us.
I hope your internet's all sorted out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
just a reboot. You just rebooted the modem.
Yeah. They sent the tech out.
Cool. So
it's really
please check out. Sorry, Trev?
I said it's good to see some new faces.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Well, we'll try and be on a little more often.
Well, I mean, it's on the day.
Yeah,
so
this is easy. I mean, we just had lunch, so.
Yeah. We do try and mix up the schedule so that next Saturday night should be the American Saturday night, so that we give those guys an opportunity to image. But so far, we have been better represented by the Southern Hemisphere astronomers. That said, if you are watching, we do have quite a few viewers on now. If you are watching and you are from the Northern Hemisphere and you'd like to share a live view, just like Andrew has been tonight, that would be fantastic. We'd really appreciate it. Anyone is welcome, anyone with a telescope who can share an image on the internet, which is really easy with Google Hangouts. You just share your screen through the Google Hangouts app. There's absolutely no software to install. It's installed through the browser. we can help you with all that before the show starts and all that sort of thing. So please reach out if you do want to join in. So yeah, thanks for everyone. Please visit photographingspace.com. It's a really fantastic resource. Again, if you feel like contributing there, please do. The Image of the Week competition is now going to be a bit of a sweetened deal with some cha-ching astro bling soon to be announced.
Yeah, so, we'll be watching for that on Monday.
Yeah, Monday. I look forward to it with bated breath. Thanks, Grant, Paul, and Trevor as well for joining us.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys.
And yeah, we'll see everyone this time next week, roughly in American time. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.